we said, JD Hutchison, Executive Director of Manipura Center, and Jaya
Hollohan.
Jaya. I was going to say at the beginning, how do you say your last name?
Hollohan.
Hollohan. Okay, that would have been right.
Yeah.
All right. So maybe we'll just start. You could give your elevator speech. You can have more than a minute. And we'll start with an overview, and then we'll kind of go in more in depth about what it is you do.
So I do something called BodyTalk primarily. So it's a consciousness-based energy therapy, and basically helps to reset the nervous system so that the body can heal itself. So we just get all the parts and systems in the body communicating again so that the brain can heal it, so that the whole body can heal itself. So, and so what that looks like in a session is someone lays on a massage table, and I use neuromuscular biofeedback to find out what parts and systems in the body have stopped communicating due to stress. And and so the idea is once you identify those parts and systems and you bring them into awareness, a change is able to happen. So, so anyway, there's a whole quantum physics way of looking at it, so I'm thinking, do I also introduce that part of it? But so essentially what I'm doing is I'm naming these parts and systems, which constitutes a formula. And so it's like creating a morphogenic field that's going to collapse as a waveform into the body. And so the way that we superimpose this formula, or this new waveform, into the way that the body, into the existing waveforms in the body and how the body's currently organizing its information, is through tapping. So sending a standing wave through the body to get the body to recognize it and to make the shift, to be able to integrate the changes that the body is suggesting it would like to see in the way that it organizes its information so that it can function more optimally. So that was
wow.
A 2-minute speech. I hope that is comprehensive and makes sense.
Well, it's really neat. The thing I got out of it was it seems like to be an amalgamation of a bunch of different holistic therapies that have been around, and now a system has kind of been put in place to have them integrate together. Yeah,
and the founder of BodyTalk, I guess he founded it in the early 90s, so he's a naturopath, a chiropractor, an acupuncturist, theologian, sports medicine guy. He was an elite athlete. Anyway, so he has all of this background, and what I love about BodyTalk is that it is holistic in the sense that it's not just dealing with the energy systems, which acupuncture would do, or it's not just dealing with the chemical constitution of the body, which Western medicine often does with introducing biochemical changes through drugs, or even herbalism does by introducing biochemical changes with herbs. So in that way, in terms of an alternative therapy, it's very all-encompassing in the way that, we also deal with musculoskeletal structure, we also deal with chakras, we also deal with body memory, and I don't know how far I'll go into explaining the other woo-woo things that we can also incorporate.
We have the time. We have the time to kind of dig a little.
Yeah,
a little deeper into it.
Yeah.
And you want to maybe kind of break some of those down. I'd be really interested in knowing, because it seems like there's a lot going on.
Yeah.
At one time.
Yeah. So, what I was going to say is you can also, we're not blank slates when we come into our bodies. So, we can also balance epigenetic factors, so inherited factors at the genetic level, and also, past life stuff, things like that we say in BodyTalk, people, they grab a scoop of the collective consciousness of the great Mahat when they come in, and we all have something to resolve in this lifetime. So we can also help to resolve those kind of themes and how they affect our physical bodies. So the memories of those in our bodies. in this life. So it's the main modality that I use. I mean, I've studied also many other things like Reiki, craniosacral. Right now I'm also doing a 3-year training in Somatic Experiencing, which is Peter Levine's trauma work. So that's another body of work which is phenomenal, which helps to integrate thwarted fight, flight, or freeze responses in the body. So motor responses that didn't complete at the time of a overwhelming threat or incident. So yeah, and essentially it just helps people to track sensation in their body and to be able to integrate sensation that they were, that became stuck in their nervous system because at the time when a trauma happened, it was too much for them to be able to, to do whatever their body wanted to do at the time. So maybe their body wanted to run, but they froze. And so what happens there, it's like all the adrenaline is on, all the gas is on, but at the same time the brakes are on because the body's frozen. So all that energy that wants to move out is suddenly locked in the body. And so helping people to feel into that sensation, and by feeling it, allowing it to integrate without overwhelming the nervous system at the time that you allow it to surface. Again, you have to titrate it and do certain things, but anyway, that's also another wonderful modality that I incorporate into the sessions, because people can also track while they're laying down in the session, or sometimes we do an exercise before we start, or so that's
Wow, it's a lot. It's amazing. Tapping. I've heard a bunch about tapping. Can you touch on that?
Yeah,
a bit about, and is that part of the BodyTalk work?
Yeah,
you mentioned it.
Yeah. So the tapping within the BodyTalk system is tapping over the brain to help the brain to wake up and recognize this morphogenic field, this formula that we've created from the suggestions that have arisen from the body. So when we tap, it's like sending a standing wave, through the field, saying, "Oh, wake up! Look at this! Look at this!" And helping the existing waveform to collapse and introduce the new waveform. So the tapping helps that process to occur. And when we tap over the brain, it helps to say, "Okay, wake up and recognize these changes." And then we tap over the heart to have the body store the changes in its memory. So the heart's constantly sending information around the body, instructing the body about what's happening. And so that's the tapping over the heart. We now also tap, we tap over the gut brain as well. 3 brains. And sometimes we might tap on other parts that come up very strongly in a session. But tapping is a 2,000-year-old path of yoga technique, and like tapping is kind of the buzz, in this field. EFT, you have a million things or different modalities now that are using tapping as a way to wake up our energy. And BodyTalk, it's really mostly just doing that at the end to integrate the whole piece that we've uncovered in a session. But it does serve that function of helping to collapse the waveforms and introduce the new information. So I would say within my work, that's how tapping is used. Yeah, probably when I realized that everything wasn't like as I wanted it to be in my own body, like that I had certain trauma also, and we all do to whatever degree, and also just like since I was very young and interested in consciousness, just very young, just always knowing that I wasn't exactly what I thought I was, which was a body, and so having very distant memories of that. And so like this therapy, which I like primarily BodyTalk and also Somatic Experiencing, but it allows you to really rest as consciousness and just see what's there, what wants to come up for just to see. And so really in the sessions I'm just I'm just connecting to that, right? Just connecting to that source, and I'm just really observing as that. And then, so, I mean, I'm blessed. I get paid to connect with source. I mean, like that's basically what's happening. But yeah, I mean, and then, so I started going to, I think, Thich Nhat Hanh. I got his book from my dad when I was 19, and then, I mean, I traveled the world for 6 years and lived abroad and studied abroad and worked abroad and went to Thich Nhat Hanh's monastery after I finished a master's in Spain. I think I was 24, and in peace and development studies. And then I went to his monastery in the south of France and spent some months and went back and forth there a few times. And then India. Then India happened, as India does. And India has her way with us who are brave enough to enter her land of sacred teachings and traditions. And so I was, I think, 28 at that time. I was working as a consultant in project management in international development with the Canadian International Development Agency for 7 years. And thank God I never got bridged in. Sorry, this is a government town, but it was... I always was refusing to get bridged in into that system. And anyway, so I took a year off of working there, and then I traveled the world again and spent 6 months in India as part of that. And it just, what happened there was just so profound that on the Ganges, overlooking the Himalayas, very... Yeah, of course, these awakening transcendental moments that many of us have when we're on this journey. And and so that just, so I started to feel when I came back from that year-long trip, Egypt, Israel, all the sacred holy places that time I went. And when I came back, I knew, like, okay, I cannot just push paper for a minister for the rest of my life. And then, and so I started to study BodyTalk. That was in 2008, June. A practitioner came to town, or an instructor, and I took the course, and I guess the sense was just, okay, actually I have something more I can offer people one-on-one than, helping someone to dig a well in Africa, which is also wonderful, but just a little bit too removed maybe, and maybe the feeling was I would help people more here. Obviously, we need it.
Well, you kind of did that, and now you're doing this, because you can only dig wells for so long.
Right? So,
but I mean, that obviously led, that part of the digging the wells, part of being on the Ganges, has now led you, like you said, to where you're at now in your spiritual growth, spiritual sharing, to get you here. So.
So then the last piece of that was that I went, then Muji I followed, he's an Advaita Vedanta teacher, Jamaican guy, a nice ashram in Portugal.
Yeah.
And I've been there four times now.
Wow.
Just going for months at a time, or sometimes weeks, sometimes months. But anyway, so the last time maybe the second last time I went there, I came home and I thought, my God, I could not pick up the pen to write one more project approval document. Like, really? It just cannot happen. My hand would not live to write this anymore. And I said, no, what I really want to do is write my book, actually. So I wrote a book. I didn't bring it. Anyway, I wrote a book. And
that's
and the book is Who We Are When We Thrive, Remembering Happiness and Rediscovering Health. And the first half of it is about how we can know ourselves as happiness, deconstructing belief systems, our conditioning basically. And then the second half is about mind-body medicine. So, inside a lot of scientific facts that correlate with how the mind influences the physical body. Gabor Mate's work, Bruce Lipton's work, all of these guys quoted inside. And so that's that book. I finished maybe a year and a half ago, and then since I don't know, maybe 4 years now, I'm only just practicing my BodyTalk and energy therapy full time. So.
That's great. So you felt called. You find with this with so many people in the profession, just one day you give up and you go, okay, I'm just gonna do this. It's crazy because so many of us are ingrained in you got to get the job and have the mortgage and the RSPs and stuff, and then some days that's what's different. I find. So you worked in project management. I worked in project management. I'm still in project management. And you're still so entrenched in that, and then one day, not even the spiritual realization, which is part of it, but just the living life realization that you can go, okay, I got to follow my true path. And do you find with the people that you work with too, a lot of those people are struggling because they want to do what they really want to do, but they're feeling trapped with that, like you're saying, that holding it down, that stuffing it down? Do you find a lot of the work that you're doing is helping kind of people let go and open up and try and find their true selves? So as we say in Kundalini, the Satnam.
Yeah. I mean, I don't say it, but that's really that's what's underpinning. I mean, that's why I do it, is to help people to know who they are, and as I come to know myself as I am. And I mean, they'll come with a sore back, but they leave with a whole lot more. I mean, it's not just this, it's so, I mean, or people come with all kinds of things, and I mean, and they maybe don't even have an awareness of how their mind has co-created, or their spirit, not really being fully embodied in their body, has co-created their physical symptoms and ailments. And so, it's just shining a light on those, ways of thinking, belief systems, patterns that are in childhood stuff, that so many of us obviously are conditioned. And so they can see that more clearly, and as they see it, their body starts to release it as well, like the way that it's learned to hold those mental, emotional patterns within the physical structure. So,
Okay.